George Michael.
George Michael is an English musician, singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist and record producer. Michael rose to superstardom during the 1980s and 1990s with his style of post-disco dance pop. He has also been characterized as a blue-eyed soul singer, although his material draws more from middle-of-the-road pop than soul music. As one of the world's best-selling music artists, Michael has sold more than 100 million records worldwide as of 2010. His 1987 debut solo album, Faith, has sold more than 20 million copies worldwide and made several records and achievements in the United States. Michael has garnered 7 #1 singles in the UK and 8 #1 hits on the Billboard Hot 100 in the US. In 2008, Billboard magazine ranked Michael the 40th most successful artist on the Billboard Hot 100 Top All-Time Artists list. Michael has won numerous music awards throughout his 30-year career, including 3 Brit Awards, winning Best British Male twice, 4 MTV Video Music Awards, 4 Ivor Novello Awards, 3 American Music Awards, and 2 Grammy Awards from 8 nominations. In 2004, the Radio Academy named Michael as the most played artist on British radio between the period of 1984 to 2004. The documentary A Different Story was released in 2005. It covered his personal life and professional career. In 2006, George Michael announced his first tour in 15 years, the worldwide 25 Live Tour, spanning 3 individual tours over the course of 3 years, 2006, 2007 and 2008.
Early life.
Michael was born Georgios Kyriakos Panayotou in East Finchley, North London. His father, Kyriakos Panayotou, a Cypriot restaurateur, moved to England in the 1950s and changed his name to Jack Panos. Michael's mother, Leslie Angold, née Harrison, 1937 to 1997, was an English dancer. Michael spent the majority of his childhood in Kingsbury, northwest London, in the home his parents bought soon after his birth, where he attended Kingsbury High School. While in his early teens, the family moved to Radlett, Hertfordshire. There Michael attended the Bushey Meads School in the neighbouring town of Bushey, where he met Andrew Ridgeley. The two had the same career ambition of being musicians. Michael would busk on the London Underground, performing songs such as 39 by Queen. His involvement in the music business began with his working as a DJ, playing at clubs and local schools around Bushey, Stanmore and Watford. This was followed by the formation of a short-lived ska band called The Executive with Ridgeley, Ridgeley's brother Paul, Andrew Lever, and David Mortimer, also known as David Austin.
Musical career. 1981 to 1986, Wham!
Michael first found success after forming the duo Wham! With Andrew Ridgeley in 1981. The band's first album Fantastic reached #1 in the UK in 1983 and produced a series of top 10 singles including Young Guns, Wham Rap, and Club Tropicana. Their second album, Make It Big reached #1 on the charts in the US. Singles from that album included Wake Me Up Before You Go Go, Freedom, Everything She Wants, and Careless Whisper, the latter of which was Michael's first solo effort as a single. Michael sang on the original Band Aid recording of Do They Know It's Christmas? And donated the profits from Last Christmas Everything She Wants to charity. In addition, he contributed background vocals to David Cassidy's 1985 hit The Last Kiss, as well as Elton John's 1985 successes Nikita, and Wrap Her Up. Michael cited Cassidy as a major career influence and interviewed Cassidy for David Litchfield's Ritz newspaper. Wham's tour of China in April 1985, the first visit to China by a Western popular music act, generated enormous worldwide media coverage, much of it centered on Michael. The tour was documented by film director Lindsay Anderson and producer Martin Lewis in their film Foreign Skies, Wham! In China. With the success of Michael's solo singles, Careless Whisper, 1984, and A Different Corner, 1986, rumors of an impending breakup with Wham! intensified. The duo officially separated during the summer of 1986, after releasing a farewell single, The Edge of Heaven, and a singles compilation, The Final, plus a sellout concert at Wembley Stadium that included the world premiere of the China film. The Wham! Partnership ended officially with the commercially successful single The Edge of Heaven, which reached number 1 on the UK chart in June 1986.
Solo career.
The beginning of his solo career, during early 1987, was a duet with Aretha Franklin. I Knew You Were Waiting was a one-off project that helped Michael achieve an ambition by singing with one of his favourite artists, and it scored number 1 on both the UK singles chart and the Billboard Hot 100 upon its release. For Michael, it became his third consecutive solo number 1 in the UK from 3 releases, after 1984's Careless Whisper, though the single was actually from the Wham! Album Make It Big, and 1986's A Different Corner. The single was also the first Michael had recorded as a solo artist which he had not written himself. The co-writer, Simon Clemmy, was unknown at the time, although he would have success as a performer with the band Clemmy Fisher in 1988. Michael and Aretha Franklin won a Grammy Award in 1988 for Best R&B Performance, Duo or Group with Vocal for the song.
1987 to 1989, Faith.
During the autumn of 1987, Michael released his first solo album, Faith. In addition to playing a large number of instruments on the album, he wrote and produced every track on the recording, except for one, which he co-wrote. The first single released from the album was I Want Your Sex, during the summer of 1987. The song was banned by many radio stations in the UK and US, due to its sexually suggestive lyrics. MTV would broadcast the video, featuring celebrity makeup artist Kathy Jeong in a basque and suspenders, only during the late-night hours. Michael argued that the act was beautiful if the sex was monogamous. Michael even recorded a brief prologue for the video in which he said, "This song is not about casual sex." One of the racier scenes involved Michael writing the words "explore monogamy" on his partner's back in lipstick. Some radio stations played a toned-down version of the song, I Want Your Love, which was mainly the word love replacing sex. When I Want Your Sex reached the US charts, American Top 40 host Casey Kasem refused to say the song's title, referring to it only as the new single by George Michael. In the US, the song was also sometimes listed as I Want Your Sex, from Beverly Hills Cop 2, since the song was featured on the soundtrack of the movie. Despite censorship and radio play problems, I Want Your Sex reached number 2 on the US Billboard Hot 100 singles chart and at number 3 in the UK. The second single, Faith, was released during October 1987, just a few weeks before the album. Faith would become one of his most popular songs. The song hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the US and maintained that position for 4 consecutive weeks. It also reached number 2 in the UK singles chart. The famous video provided some definitive images of the 1980s music industry in the process, Michael in shades, leather jacket, cowboy boots, and Levi's jeans, playing a guitar near a classic design jukebox. On October 30, Faith was released in the UK and in several markets worldwide. In the United States, the album had 51 non-consecutive weeks in the top 10 of Billboard 200, including 12 weeks at number 1. Faith had many successes, 4 of which, Faith, Further Figure, One More Try, and Monkey reached number 1. Eventually, Faith received diamond certification by the RIAA for sales of 10 million copies in the US. To date, global sales of Faith are more than 25 million units. The album was highly acclaimed by music critics, with AllMusic journalist Steve Huey describing Faith as a superbly crafted mainstream pop-rock masterpiece, as one of the finest pop albums of the 80s. In a review by Rolling Stone magazine, journalist Mark Coleman commended most of the songs on the album, which he said displays Michael's intuitive understanding of pop music and his increasingly intelligent use of his power to communicate to an ever-growing audience. In 1988, Michael embarked on a world tour. The nightly setlist included from the Wham! Era Everything She Wants, and I'm Your Man, as well as covers of Lady Marmalade, or Play That Funky Music. In Los Angeles, Michael was joined on stage by Aretha Franklin for I Knew You Were Waiting. It was the second highest grossing event of 1988, earning $17.7 million. According to Michael in his film, A Different Story, success did not make him happy and he started to think there was something wrong in being an idol for millions of teenage girls. The whole faith process, promotion, videos, tour, awards, left him exhausted, lonely and frustrated, and far from his friends and family. At the 1989 MTV Video Music Awards in Los Angeles, Michael received the Video Vanguard Award. In 1990, he told his record company Sony that, for his second album, he did not want to do promotions like the one for Faith.
1990–1992, Listen Without Prejudice.
Listen Without Prejudice Volume 1 was released in September 1990. For this album, Michael tried to create a new reputation as a serious-minded artist. The title is an indication of his desire to be taken more seriously as a songwriter. Michael refused to make any kind of promotion for this album, including no music videos for the singles released. The first single, Praying for Time, with lyrics concerning social ills and injustice, was released in August 1990 to critical acclaim. James Hunter of Rolling Stone magazine described the song as a distraught look at the world's astounding woundedness. Michael offers the healing passage of time as the only balm for physical and emotional hunger, poverty, hypocrisy and hatred. The song was an instant success, reaching number 6 in the UK and number 1 on the US Billboard Hot 100, despite the absence of a video. A video was released shortly thereafter, consisting of the lyrics on a dark background. Michael did not appear in this video or any subsequent videos for the album. The second single Waiting for That Day was an acoustic heavy single, released as an immediate follow-up to Praying for Time. It reached number 27 in the US and number 23 in the UK in October 1990. The album was released in Europe on September 3, 1990, and 1 week later in the United States. It reached number 1 in the UK Albums Chart and peaked at number 2 on the US Billboard 200. It spent a total of 88 weeks on the UK Albums Chart and was certified 4 times platinum by the BPI. The album produced 5 UK singles, which were released quickly, within an 8-month period: Praying for Time, Waiting for That Day, Freedom, 90 Inches, Heal the Pain, and Cowboys and Angels, the latter being his only single not to chart in the UK Top 40. Freedom 90 was the second of only 2 of its singles to be supported by a music video, the other being the Michael Les Praying for Time. The song alludes to his struggles with his artistic identity, and prophesied his efforts shortly thereafter to end his recording contract with Sony Music. As if to prove the song's sentiment, Michael refused to appear in the video, directed by David Fincher, and instead recruited supermodels Naomi Campbell, Linda Evangelista, Christy Turlington, Tatiana Patitz, and Cindy Crawford to appear and lip-sync in his stead. It also featured the reduction of his sex symbol status. It had contrasting fortunes on each side of the Atlantic, a number 8 success on the Billboard Hot 100 in the US, but only number 28 on the UK Singles Chart. Mother's Pride gained significant radio play in the United States during the First Persian Gulf War during 1991, often with radio stations mixing in callers' tributes to soldiers with the music. It reached number 46 on Billboard Hot 100 with only airplay. In the end, Listen Without Prejudice Volume 1 sold approximately 8 million copies. In 1991, George Michael embarked on the cover-to-cover tour in Japan, England, the US, and Brazil, where he performed at the Rock in Rio event. In the audience in Rio, he saw and later met Anselmo Falepa, the man who would become his partner. The tour was not a proper promotion for Listen Without Prejudice Volume 1. Rather, it was more about Michael singing his favorite cover songs. Among his favorites was Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me, a 1974 song by Elton John. Michael and John had performed the song together at the Live Aid concert in 1985, and again for Michael's concert at London's Wembley Arena on March 25, 1991, where the duet was recorded. The single was released at the end of 1991 and became a success on both sides of the Atlantic. In the meantime, the expected follow-up album, Listen Without Prejudice Volume 2, was scrapped due to Michael's lawsuit with Sony. Among Michael's complaints was that Sony had not completely supported the release of his second album, resulting in its poor performance in the US as compared to Faith. Sony responded that Michael's refusal to appear in promotional videos had caused the bad response. Michael ended the idea for Listen Without Prejudice Volume 2 and donated 3 songs to the charity project Red Hot Plus Dance, for the Red Hot organization, which raised money for AIDS awareness, while a 4th track, Crazy Man Dance, was the B-side of 1992's Too Funky. Michael donated the royalties from Too Funky to the same cause. Too Funky was a commercial success, reaching number 4 in the UK singles chart and number 10 in the US Billboard Hot 100. It did not appear on any George Michael studio album, although later it was included on his solo collections Ladies and Gentlemen, The Best of George Michael in 1998 and 25 in 2006. The video featured Michael, sporadically, as a director filming supermodels Linda Evangelista, Beverly Peele, Tyra Banks, Estelle Leaf-Bure and Nadja Auerman at a fashion show.
1993, 5 Live.
George Michael performed at the Freddie Mercury tribute concert on April 20, 1992 at London's Wembley Stadium. The concert was a tribute to the life of the late Queen frontman, Freddie Mercury, with some proceeds going to AIDS research. Michael performed 39, These Are the Days of Our Lives with Lisa Stansfield and Somebody to Love. The performance of the latter was released on the 5 Live EP. 5 Live, released in 1993 for Parlophone in the UK and Hollywood Records in the US, features 5, and in some countries, 6, tracks performed by George Michael, Queen, and Lisa Stansfield. Somebody to Love, and These Are the Days of Our Lives were recorded at the Freddie Mercury tribute concert. Killer, Papa Was a Rollin' Stone, and Calling You were all live performances recorded during his cover-to-cover tour from 1991. Michael's performance of Somebody to Love was hailed as one of the best performances of the tribute concert. The idea of having George Michael take over as full-time lead singer of Queen was even given serious consideration. All proceeds from the sale of the EP benefited the Mercury Phoenix Trust. Sales of the EP were very strong through Europe, where it debuted at number 1 in the UK and several European countries. Chart success in the United States was less spectacular, where it peaked at number 40 on the Billboard 200. Somebody to Love reached number 30 on the US Billboard Hot 100.
1994 to 1997, Older.
During November 1994, after a long period of seclusion, George Michael appeared at the first MTV Europe Music Awards show, where he gave a touching performance of a brand new song, Jesus to a Child. The song was a melancholy tribute to his lover, Anselmo Filippa, who had died in March 1993. The song was Michael's first self-penned success in his homeland in almost 4 years. It entered the UK singles chart at number 1 and number 7 on Billboard in the same month of release. It was also Michael's longest UK Top 40 single, at almost 7 minutes long. The exact identity of the song's subject, and the nature of Michael's relationship with Filippa, was shrouded in innuendo and speculation, as Michael had not confirmed he was homosexual and did not do so until 1998. The video for Jesus to a Child was a picture of images recalling loss, pain and suffering. Michael consistently dedicates the song to Filippa before performing it live. The second single, released in April 1996, was Fast Love, an energetic tune about wanting gratification and fulfillment without commitment. The song was somewhat unusual for a popular song, in that it did not have a defined chorus and that the single version was nearly 5 minutes long. Fast Love was supported by a futuristic virtual reality-related video. It scored number 1 in the UK singles chart, spending 3 weeks at the top spot. In the US, Fast Love peaked at number 8, his most recent single to reach the top 10 on the US charts. Following Fast Love, Michael finally released Older, his first studio album in 6 years and only the third in his 10-year solo career. The album's US and Canada release was particularly notable as it was the first album released by David Gefen's, now defunct, DreamWorks Records. Older was particularly notable for the release of his 6 singles. Each of them reached a UK top 3, a record for the most singles in the British top 3 released from a single album. At the time of release of the album's 5th single, Star People 97, chart specialist James Masterton noted George Michael's success on the singles charts, writing, "George Michael nonetheless makes an impressive top 3 entry with this single." The Older album has now proved itself to be far and away his most commercially successful recording ever. 5 singles now lifted and every single one has been a top 3 hit. Compare this with the 2 top 3 hits produced by Faith and Listen Without Prejudice's scant total of 1 top 10er and 1 single which missed the top 40 altogether. This sustained single success has, of course, been achieved with a little help from marketing tricks such as remixes, or in this case a new recording of the album track which gives it a much-needed transformation into a deserved commercial smash. In 1996, Michael was voted Best British Male at the MTV Europe Music Awards and the Brit Awards. And at the Ivor Novello Awards, he was awarded the prestigious title of Songwriter of the Year for the 3rd time. Michael performed a concert at 3 Mills Studios, London, for MTV Unplugged. It was his first long performance in years, and in the audience was Michael's mother. The next year, she died of cancer.
1998, ladies and gentlemen, the best of George Michael.
Ladies and gentlemen, The Best of George Michael was Michael's first solo greatest hits collection released in 1998. The collection of 28 songs, 29 songs are included on the European and Australian release, are separated into 2 halves, with each containing a particular theme and mood. The first CD, titled For the Heart, predominantly contains Michael's successful ballads, while the second CD, For the Feet, consists mainly of his popular dance tunes. It was released through Sony Music Entertainment as a condition of severing contractual ties with the label. The album is notable for containing a large number of compilation tracks and duets that had not previously appeared on his albums, including his duet with Aretha Franklin, I Knew You Were Waiting, For Me. Desafinado, a duet in Portuguese with Brazilian legendary singer Astrud Gilberto. And the Elton John duet Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me. Ladies and Gentlemen was an instant success, peaking at number 1 on the UK albums chart for 8 weeks. It has spent over 200 weeks in the UK charts, and it is the 38th best-selling album of all time in the UK. It is certified 7 times platinum in the United Kingdom and multi-platinum in the United States, and it's George Michael's most commercially successful album in his homeland, having sold more than 2.8 million copies. To date, the album has reached worldwide sales of approximately 15 million copies. The first single of the album, Outside, was a humorous song about his arrest for soliciting a policeman in a public restroom. As, his duet with Mary J. Blige, was released as the second single in many territories around the world. Both singles reached a top 5 in the UK singles chart.
1999, Songs from the Last Century.
Songs from the Last Century is a studio album of cover tracks. It was released in 1999 and was the final George Michael album to be released through Virgin Records. To date, the album has peaked the lowest of his solo effort. The album debuted at number 157 on the American Billboard 200 Albums chart, which was also the album's peak position. It was also his lowest charting album in the UK, becoming his only solo effort not to reach number 1. It peaked at number 2 in the UK Albums chart. It consists of old standards, plus new interpretations of more recent popular songs such as Roxanne, The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face, and the Frank Sinatra classic, Where or When. Each of the 11 tracks was co-produced by Phil Ramone and George Michael.
2000 to 2005, Patience.
Michael began working on what would be his fifth studio album, spending 2 years in the recording studio. His first single, Freak, taken from the new album, was successful in Europe, going to number 1 in Italy, Portugal, Spain and Denmark in 2002 and reaching the top 10 in the UK and the top 5 in Australia. It made 22 charts around the world. However, his next single, Shoot the Dog, proved to be highly controversial when released in July 2002. It was highly critical of George W. Bush and Tony Blair in the lead-up to the 2003 invasion of Iraq. It reached number 1 in Denmark and made the top 5 in most European charts. However, in Britain it peaked at only number 12 in the UK singles chart. In February 2003, George Michael unexpectedly recorded another song in protest against the looming Iraq War, Don McLean's The Grave. The original was written by McLean in 1971 and was a protest against the Vietnam War. Michael performed the song on numerous top-rated TV shows including Top of the Pops, and So Graham Norton. The video featured extensively on MTV. It was released as part of the War Child charity album Hope. Michael also performed the song on long-running British chart show Top of the Pops on BBC television on March 7, 2003, introduced by the writer and stand-up comedian, and fan of George Michael, Ben Elton. It was Michael's first appearance on the show since 1986, when he performed The Edge of Heaven as one half of Wham. He ran into conflict with the show's producers for an anti-war, anti-Blair t-shirt worn by some members of his band. In response, McLean issued a statement, through his website, praising George Michael's recording. "I am proud of George Michael for standing up for life and sanity. I am delighted that he chose a song of mine to express these feelings. We must remember that the wizard is really a cowardly old man hiding behind a curtain with a loud microphone. It takes courage and a song to pull the curtain open and expose him. Good luck, George." On November 17, 2003, George Michael re-signed with Sony Music, the company he had left in 1995 after a legal battle. When Michael's fifth studio album, Patience, was released in 2004, it was critically acclaimed and considered the album of George Michael's comeback to the spotlight in the new millennium. It went straight to number 1 on the UK albums chart, and became one of the fastest-selling albums in the UK, selling over 200,000 copies in the first week alone. In Australia it reached number 2 on March 22. It reached the top 5 on most European charts, and peaked at number 12 in the United States, selling over 500,000 copies to earn a gold certification from the RIAA. To date the album has sold around 7 million copies worldwide and spawned 4, of 6, new hit singles. Amazing, the third single from the album, became a number 1 hit in Europe. When Michael appeared on The Oprah Winfrey Show on May 26, 2004, to promote the album, he performed Amazing, along with his classic songs Father Figure, and Faith. On the show Michael spoke of his arrest, revealing his homosexuality, and his resumption of public performances. He allowed Oprah's crew inside his home outside of London. The fourth single taken off the album was Flawless, which used the sample of the One's original dance hit Flawless. It was a dance hit in Europe as well as North America, reaching number 1 on the Billboard Hot Dance Club Play and became Michael's last number 1 single on the United States dance chart. In November 2004, Sony released the fifth single, Round Here. It was the least successful single taken from Patience when it stalled the UK charts at number 32. In 2005, John and Elvis Are Dead was released as the sixth and final single from the album. It was released as a download single and was therefore unable to chart in the United Kingdom. George Michael announced that Patience would be the last record on sale to the public. He told BBC Radio 1 on March 10, 2004 that future music that he puts out will be available for download, with fans encouraged to make a donation to charity.
2005 to 2010, 25 and concert tours.
25 was George Michael's second greatest hits album, celebrating the 25th anniversary of his music career. Released in November 2006 by Sony BMG, it debuted at #1 in the UK. The album contains songs chiefly from George Michael's solo career but also from his earlier days in Wham. It comes in two formats, 2 CDs or a limited edition 3 CD set. The 2 CD set contained 26 tracks, including 4 recorded with Wham. And 3 new songs, An Easier Affair. This Is Not Real Love, a duet with Mutia Buena, formerly of Soulja Babes, which peaked at number 15 in the UK charts. And a new version of Feel the Pain recorded with Paul McCartney. The limited edition 3 CD version contains an additional 14 lesser-known tracks, including one from Wham. And another completely new song, Understand. 25 was released in North America on April 1, 2008 as a 29-song, 2 CD set featuring several new songs, including duets with Paul McCartney and Mary J. Blige and a song from the short-lived TV series Eli Stone, in addition to many of Michael's successful songs from both his solo and Wham career. To commemorate the 25 album, George Michael toured North America for the first time in 17 years, playing large venues in major cities including New York, Los Angeles, St. Paul, Minneapolis, Tampa, St. Pete, Chicago and Dallas. The DVD version of 25 contains 40 videos on 2 discs, including 7 with Wham. During the 2005 Live 8 concert, Michael joined Paul McCartney on stage, harmonizing on the Beatles' classic Drive My Car. Michael was one of several remixes commissioned in 1990 to work on dance mixes for Bananarama's Tripping on Your Love. Bananarama covered Careless Whisper for their Exotica album in 2001, and the track was also released as a single in France. In 2006, Michael started his first tour in 15 years, 25 Live. The tour began in Barcelona, Spain, on September 23 and finished in December at Wembley Arena in England. According to his website, the 80-show tour was seen by 1.3 million fans. On May 12, 2007 in Coimbra, Portugal, he began the European 25 Live Stadium Tour 2007, including London and Athens, and ending on August 4, 2007 in Belfast, Northern Ireland. There were 29 tour dates, as of April 21, 2007, across Europe. On June 9, 2007 Michael became the first artist to perform live at the newly renovated Wembley Stadium in London, where he was later fined PS £130,000 for overrunning the programme for 13 minutes. On March 25, 2008, a third part of the 25 Live Tour was announced for North America. This part included 21 dates in the United States and Canada. This was Michael's first tour of North America in 17 years. Following news of Michael's North American tour, 25 was released in North America on April 1, 2008 as a 29-song, 2 CD set featuring several new songs, including duets with Paul McCartney and Mary J. Blige and a song from the short-lived TV series, Eli Stone, in addition to many of Michael's successful songs from both his solo and Wham career. In addition, a companion 2-disc DVD of 40 videos was also made available. Michael made his American acting debut by playing a guardian angel to Johnny Lee Miller's character on Eli Stone, a TV series that was broadcast in the United States. In addition to performing on the show as himself and as Visions, each episode of the show's first season was named after a song of his. Michael appeared on the 2008 finale show of American Idol on May 21 singing Praying for Time. When asked what he thought Simon will say of his performance, he replied, "I think he'll probably tell me I shouldn't have done a George Michael song. He's told plenty of people that in the past, so I think that'd be quite funny." On December 1, Michael played a last concert in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates, as part of the 37th National Day celebrations. On December 25, 2008, Michael released a new track December song on his website for free. It was hoped that fans who download the song would donate money to charity. Though the song is not available anymore on his website, It remains available on file-sharing networks, and on October 29, 2009 the BBC said that George Michael was to join the race for the UK Christmas #1 as a remastered version of December Song would go on sale on December 13. The popularity of the single was boosted by a promotional appearance that Michael made on The X Factor, where he performed the song with David Austin playing piano. At the end of 2009, Michael announced, after months of speculation, that he would be performing shows in the Australian cities of Melbourne, Perth and Sydney, his first concerts in Australia since 1988. On February 20, 2010, Michael performed his first show in Perth at the Burswood Dome to an audience of 15,000. On March 5, 2010, Michael confirmed that he would be a guest performer at the Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras After Party, where he performed at 1 a.m., followed by Kelly Rowland at 3 a.m. On March 2, 2011, Michael announced the release of his cover version of New Order's 1987 hit True Faith in aid of the charity Comic Relief. The Guardian called his version a dreary run-through, a song that now sounds like it's being performed by a depressed Dalek, and questioned whether it was the worst non-comedy charity single of all time. Michael released a cover of Stevie Wonder's 1972 song, You and I, on April 15, 2011, as an MP3 gift to Prince William and Catherine Middleton on the occasion of their wedding on April 29, 2011. Although the MP3 was released for free download, Michael appealed that those who do download the special track that make a contribution to the Prince William and Miss Catherine Middleton Charitable Gift Fund.
2011 to 2014, Symphonica and concert tours.
On May 11, 2011, the Symphonica tour was announced. Only European dates were released. The first show on the tour was performed at the Prague State Opera House on August 22. In November, he had to cancel the remainder of the tour though, as he became severely ill in Vienna, Austria. In October 2011, Michael was announced as one of the final nominees for the Songwriters Hall of Fame. Michael told fans over Twitter in January 2012 that he did not think his vocal cords would be ready for performance till the summer, and that the tour will probably take place in September of that year, and may include previously unheard songs. On June 19, 2012, George Michael released a single White Light in order to celebrate the 30 years since the release of Wham Rap. The single also contains a cover version of Song to the Siren, and 2 remixes. Michael's album Symphonica was released on March 17, 2014, and became his 7th solo #1 album in the UK, and 9th overall including his Wham! Chart toppers. The album was produced by Phil Ramone, his last production credit, and Michael.
Personal life. Sexuality.
At the age of 19, Michael told Andrew Ridgeley and close friends that he was bisexual. Michael also told one of his 2 sisters, but he was advised by friends not to tell his parents about his sexuality. In a 1999 interview with The Advocate, Michael told the editor-in-chief, Judy Widder, that it was falling in love with a man that ended his conflict over bisexuality. "I never had a moral problem with being gay," Michael told Widder. "I thought I had fallen in love with a woman a couple of times. Then I fell in love with a man, and realized that none of those things had been love." In 2007 Michael said he had hidden the fact he was gay because of worries over what effect it might have on his mother. Speaking about his time with Wham! In the 1980s, Michael said, "I used to sleep with women quite a lot in the Wham! Days but never felt it could develop into a relationship because I knew that, emotionally, I was a gay man. I didn't want to commit to them but I was attracted to them. Then I became ashamed that I might be using them." In 2009, Michael said, "My depression at the end of Wham! Was because I was beginning to realize I was gay, not bisexual."
Relationships.
Michael established a relationship with Anselmo Falepa, a male Brazilian dress designer, whom he had met at the 1991 concert Rock in Rio. 6 months into their relationship, Falepa discovered that he had HIV. Michael later said, "It was terrifying news. I thought I could have the disease too. I couldn't go through it with my family because I didn't know how to share it with them, they didn't even know I was gay. In 1993, Filippa died of an AIDS-related brain hemorrhage. Michael's single Jesus to a Child is a tribute to Filippa. He consistently dedicates it to him before performing it live, as is his 1996 album Older. In 2008, speaking about the loss of his partner Filippa, Michael said, "It was a terribly depressing time. It took about 3 years to grieve, then after that I lost my mother. I felt almost like I was cursed." In 1996, Michael entered into a long-term relationship with Kenny Goss, a former flight attendant, cheerleader coach and sportswear executive from Dallas. They had homes in Dallas and in Pico's second $8 million mansion in Highgate, North London. In late November 2005, it was reported that Michael and Goss would register their relationship as a civil partnership in the UK, but because of negative publicity and his upcoming tour, they postponed it to a later date. On August 22, 2011, the opening night of his Symphonica World Tour, Michael announced that he and Goss had split 2 years earlier. Goss was present at Michael's British sentencing for driving under the influence of marijuana on September 14, 2010.
Anonymous sex.
Questions of Michael's sexual orientation persisted in public until April 7, 1998, when he was arrested for engaging in a lewd act in a public restroom of the Will Rogers Memorial Park in Beverly Hills, California. In 2007, Michael said that hiding his sexuality made him feel fraudulent, and his eventual outing, when he was arrested in 1998, was a subconsciously deliberate act. Michael was arrested by an undercover policeman named Marcelo Rodriguez, in a sting operation using so-called pretty police. In an MTV interview, Michael stated, "I got followed into the restroom and then this cop, I didn't know it was a cop, obviously, he started playing this game, which I think is called, I'll show you mine, you show me yours, and then when you show me yours, I'm going to nick you." After pleading no contest to the charge, Michael was fined $810 and sentenced to 80 hours of community service. Soon afterwards, Michael made a video for his single Outside, which satirized the public toilet incident and featured men dressed as policemen kissing. Rodriguez claimed that this video mocked him, and that Michael had slandered him in interviews. In 1999, he brought a $10 million court case in California against the singer. The court dismissed the case, but an appellate court reinstated the case on December 3, 2002. The court then ruled Rodriguez, as a public official, could not legally recover damages for emotional distress. After the incident, Michael became explicit about his sexuality and his relationship with Kenny Goss, which began in June 1996. On July 23, 2006, Michael was again accused of engaging in anonymous public sex, this time at London's Hampstead Heath. The anonymous partner was stated, wrongly, as it turned out, to be 58-year-old Norman Kirtland, an unemployed van driver. Despite stating that he intended to sue both the News of the World tabloid who supposedly photographed the incident and Norman Kirtland for slander, Michael stated that he cruises for anonymous sex and that this was not an issue in his relationship with partner Kenny Goss.
Drugs.
On February 26, 2006, Michael was arrested for possession of Class C drugs, an incident that he described as "my own stupid fault, as usual." He was cautioned by the police and released. Michael was arrested in Cricklewood, northwest London, after motorists reported a car obstructing the road at traffic lights. He pleaded guilty on May 8, 2007 to driving while unfit through drugs. He was banned from driving for 2 years, and sentenced to community service. During September 2007, on Desert Island Discs, he said that his cannabis use was a problem. He wished he could smoke less of it and was constantly trying to do so. On September 19, 2008, Michael was arrested in a public toilet in the Hampstead Heath area of London for possession of Class A and C drugs. He was taken to the police station and cautioned for controlled substance possession. On December 5, 2009, in an interview with The Guardian, Michael explained he had cut back on cannabis and now smokes only 7 or 8 spliffs per day instead of the 25 he used to smoke. In the early hours of Sunday, 4th July 2010, Michael was returning from the Gay Pride Parade. The singer was spotted on CCTV driving into the front of a Snappy Snaps store in Hampstead, North London, and was arrested on suspicion of being unfit to drive. On August 12, London's Metropolitan Police said he was charged with possession of cannabis and with driving while unfit through drink or drugs. It was reported that Michael had also been taking the prescription medication amitriptyline. On August 24, 2010, the singer pleaded guilty at Highbury Corner Magistrates Court in London after admitting driving under the influence of drugs, and on September 14, 2010 at the same court, was sentenced to 8 weeks in prison, a fine, and a 5-year ban from driving. Michael was released from High Point Prison in Suffolk on October 11, 2010, after serving 4 weeks.
Politics.
Michael wrote Shoot the Dog, a song critical about the friendly relationship between the American and British governments and their involvement in the Iraq War. During 2000, Michael joined Melissa Etheridge, Garth Brooks, Queen Latifah, the Pet Shop Boys, and K.D. Lang, to perform in Washington, D.C. as part of Equality Rocks, a concert to benefit the Human Rights Campaign. During 2007, he sent the PS $1.45 million piano that John Lennon used to write Imagine around the United States on a peace tour, having it on display at places where violence had taken place, such as Dallas Deli Plaza, where U.S. President John F. Kennedy was shot. He devoted his concert in Sofia, Bulgaria, from his 25 tour to the Bulgarian nurses prosecuted in the HIV trial in Libya. On June 17, 2008, Michael said he was thrilled by California's legalization of same-sex marriage, calling the move way overdue.
Charity.
During 1984, he sang as part of Band Aid on the Charities song Do They Know It's Christmas? For famine relief in Ethiopia. This single scored #1 on the UK music charts over Christmas 1984, holding Michael's own song, Last Christmas by Wham. At number 2. Michael donated the royalties from Last Christmas to Band Aid and subsequently sang with Elton John at Live Aid, the Band Aid charity concert, in 1985. In 1988, George Michael took part in the Mandela 70th birthday tribute together with many other singers, such as Annie Lennox and Sting, performing Sexual Healing. In 2003 he paired up with Ronan Keating on the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And won PS $32,000, after having their original PS $64,000 winnings halved after missing the PS $125,000 question. The proceeds from the single Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me were divided among 10 different charities for children, AIDS and education. He is also a patron of the Elton John AIDS Foundation. Michael is supporting a campaign to help raise $32 million US, 15 million British pounds, for terminally ill children. In early 2011, Michael made You and I, a cover of a Stevie Wonder song, a free download on his website. He did so under the proviso that those that downloaded make a donation to a charity from those listed.
Assets.
Between the years 2006 and 2008, according to reports, Michael earned PS $48.5 million, $97 million, from the 25 Live tour alone. He reportedly earns millions more for private concerts that he periodically does, such as for billionaires Vladimir Putin and Philippe Green. According to the Sunday Times Rich List 2011, Michael is worth PS $90 million in currency alone.
Memoirs.
In 1991 Michael released an autobiography titled Bear through Penguin Books, which he co-wrote with writer Tony Parsons. The over 200-page book covers various aspects of his life, including details of his relationship with a former girlfriend. On January 16, 2008, Michael signed a contract with HarperCollins for an autobiography which he is to write entirely himself.
Health troubles.
On October 26, 2011, George Michael cancelled a performance at London's Royal Albert Hall due to a viral infection. On November 21, 2011, a hospital in Vienna admitted Michael after he had complained of chest pains while at a hotel just 2 hours before his performance at a venue there for his Symphonica tour. The singer was later confirmed to have suffered from pneumonia and, until December 1, was in an intensive care unit. While Michael appeared to be in good spirits, and responded well to treatment following his admittance, hospital officials said on November 25 that his condition had worsened overnight. This development led to cancellations and postponements of Michael's remaining 2011 performances, which mainly had been scheduled for the United Kingdom. Michael's partner, celebrity hairstylist Foddy Fawaz, told press that Michael's health was improving by the hour. On December 1, 2011, doctors at the hospital in which George Michael had stayed announced that the singer was steadily improving, and that he had moved out of the intensive care ward. On December 21, 2011, the hospital discharged Michael. On December 23, 2011, Michael made a public speech outside his house in Highgate, London, in which he stated that the staff at the Vienna General Hospital had saved his life and that he would gratuitously perform a concert specifically for that staff. While making the speech, he became emotional and breathless. During the speech, he also mentioned that he had undergone a tracheotomy. He also revealed that, after waking from the coma, he had a temporary West Country accent. In May 2013, George Michael sustained a head injury when he impacted after falling from his moving automobile on the M1 motorway, near St Albans in Hertfordshire, and received an airlift to a hospital.
Discography.
Faith, 1987, Listen Without Prejudice Volume 1, 1990, Older, 1996, Songs from the Last Century, 1999, Patience, 2004, Symphonica, 2014.
Tours.
Faith World Tour, 1988 to 1989, Cover to Cover, 1991, 25 Live, 2006 to 2008, George Michael Live in Australia, 2010, Symphonica Tour, 2011 to 2012.